What's up, my boomers? It's me, Melanie Mac, here on my new channel, Melanie Mac Go Boom. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. So, I kind of want to talk about the double standards of Hollywood and all that jazz, and how that applies with like cancel culture, virtue signaling, all that kind of stuff, and what's going on. Now, we've seen time and time again, you see people like Gina Carano, for example, fired from The Mandalorian because of her political opinions. They even go to such measures to take her out of context and things of that nature. And you have someone on the other hand like Pedro Pascal, who was caught posting something almost identical to what she posted that got her fired, but because his applied to, the approved narrative, he was allowed to, he didn't have any backlash or any issues with it. It's just some outright hypocrisy. And so I made a tweet about this yesterday because obviously with current stuff going on, I mean, we've got Ezra Miller assaulting women, okay, physically, violence against women, and we have Amber Heard violence against a man, abusing a man, her former partner, Johnny Depp. Now, we have some pretty conclusive evidence in this case. Obviously, in both cases, because, I mean, he's arrested multiple times. He's done this multiple times, Ezra Miller has. And then we have Amber Heard, who has, I mean, you've got the phone calls. You got the evidence. You got evidence on evidence on evidence. And there's a whole lot you can find with the court case stuff going on at this time. But I find this extremely hypocritical. And I made this tweet saying, at this point, it seems like actors have a higher chance of getting fired from projects over their political opinions or vaccination status than checks notes, actually being a violent abuser. And in this case, we have two violent abusers, both, seemingly still having their jobs with WB. And if people want to talk about like Ezra Miller's case and some of this stuff is recent, Ezra Miller has already had a history of physically assaulting women and harming women. This most recent case just happened in Hawaii. I feel like didn't this just happen not long ago too? It's just constant with him. I don't know why. And look, Fantastic Beast, which fired Johnny Depp, Johnny Depp, who actually is a victim in his situation. But then you have Ezra Miller, who has a history of violence against women. And yeah, he still gets his spot. All right, Ezra was played superhero The Flash in several movies, blah, blah, blah. So he threw a chair. Basically, there was a gathering at a private residence on the Big Island of Hawaii. According to the police, 29-year-old actor became irate after being asked to leave, the police said, and was then said to have thrown a chair that struck a 26-year-old woman on the forehead, causing a half-inch cut. This is a pattern behavior from him. But he's got a movie coming out, The Flash. He's had a history of this stuff before, but has had not any backlash. And Amber Heard, all this stuff about that has already come out on her. People, if you want to act like, oh, this is just some new information. No, this stuff's been around. We've had this evidence. We've had, Johnny Depp's like cut off finger, like the tip of his finger completely just cut off. It's very disturbing. We've had so much evidence and giant petitions even to replace Amber Heard's role as Mara in Aquaman 2, and nothing. They carried on with it. Now, I think when it comes to people's opinions and political opinions and anything like that, just personal lifestyle, no one should be canceled for their personal lifestyles as long as they are not harming other people. I think in this kind of situation, when you're having violent abusers, you might want to consider having them in roles in your movies. But Hollywood doesn't care. And anybody who thinks that Hollywood is, they want to act like they care about people. They want to act like they care about, we care about women. We care about minorities, this and that when it comes to casting decisions, stories they're telling. But they don't. And this is another reason why I think people who are just all up, like licking Disney's boots and all that stuff, acting like they are just these social heroes and champions to the underdogs or whatever. They don't care. They just see it as a method of capitalizing on getting some money. Because when you see their markets, you see it when they, all the Disney Star Wars stuff, them taking Flynn off their posters in China, remove the black guy like that, but then they want to act like they care about black people when they do racist things themselves. Or when they want to act like they care about gay people, but they will cut specific scenes out of movies that have gay connotations. So it's like, it's just so fake. It's so fake. And when you talk about the corruption in the world and all that, Hollywood is some of the most corrupt people you can even imagine. They don't care that Ezra Miller harms women. They don't care that Amber Heard abused her ex-husband. They don't care about any of that crap. They really don't. And they don't care about women in general. They don't care about black people. They don't care about the LGBTQ community. They don't care about any of that. They are some of the most corrupt people imaginable in general. Now, there might be some actors in Hollywood who are not a part of that and all that kind of stuff, and that's a whole other discussion. But Hollywood as a whole is the most corrupt institution. I just don't see how this day people get on their high horses about stuff and try to get people canceled just because, their vaccination status or whatever else it may be, when you think they freaking care. So yeah, some of the comments really shows you where their priorities are. How the heck does Amber Heard have a career still, but not her victim? Exactly. The fact that Ezra is even still allowed to be the Flash at this rate is a crime in so many ways, in my honest opinion. If they really want to keep him, they should get a different actor for the role of Flash and give him a yellow suit. I think some people were saying something about the CW's Flash actor possibly taking the helm. I don't know how true that is, but yeah. Anyway, kind of wild to me how Amber Heard was believed, but Johnny Depp was not. It's because people are more gullible to believe a woman over a man instead of waiting for evidence to be shown. The courts are sexist toward men in general. I do agree that they are for the most part, but I think also a big part of this is the fact that, Amber Heard is people who are on the woke side and a part of the cancel mob and all that kind of stuff. They don't cancel people for actual noble reasons. They cancel people because because of groupthink. So they won't cancel people who do terrible things if they align with their social views of the world, okay? So in this situation, pretty sure Amber Heard is a pretty woke person. Woke. If she aligns with their worldview and she parrots their narrative, then they're fine with her. She can do that. But yeah, it's just a double standard. It is. So this is where we're at right now. I can't believe this is even a thing, but here we are. All right, let me go ahead and go into some comments from some recent videos. Now, my last video, I was in my last video or my video before, I did mention briefly about dating and stuff like that as a Christian, and I did mention about unequally yoked, how the Bible tells us not to be unequally yoked. This made a couple people mad. I did get some backlash, not a lot, but I just had a couple comments of like, oh, I don't like that. Or, well, that's why I would never be a part of Christianity if they're not open enough to date or marry other people with different faiths or different beliefs. That's fine. You don't have to agree with it, but let's not mince words. with what the Bible says. David in this case said, are you saying that Christians should not date non-Christians? I'm just going to say, it's not me saying that. It's in the Bible. So, hey, I'm not going to, that's one thing I'm not going to do, and one thing I do not want to do on my channel. Whenever, or my social media, any of that stuff, if I talk about the Bible, I want to stay true to it. I do not want to be in the business of taking anything out of context or misinterpreting anything. And in this case, it's very clear. He says, what if the non-Christian is converted as a result of the relationship? I don't mean by manipulation, but rather the non-Christian is able to see the light of God in the other, which then sets them on a path to redemption. Also, I think you will have to purposefully choose to be in a relationship. God may put the right person in your life, but he's not going to throw them in your lap either. You will have your own free will too. And you're right on that. We definitely all have our own free will. And I think when it comes to God bringing people in our lives, or bringing the right person in our lives, or leading us to where we need to be and to meet that person who God deems a good fit for us, it is ultimately our free will and their free will. So I do agree with you on that. And I also am not totally sure on the concept of soulmates. Like, I'm a hopeless romantic, so I want to believe that there is a God-ordained soulmate, that we were created for each other. I want to believe that so freaking bad. But I think when I try to think practically, I do think that when it comes to relationships and all that kind of stuff, I don't know if the soulmates actually exist. Maybe if I meet my soulmate, I will think that that's the dream. But I do think that there are people who will who are compatible and who will align spiritually and among other ways with us, and God can bless in that union. So I think it's possible that. Because we do have free will. So just think, oh, well, what if person God had for you, or your soulmate, you missed out on when you were 20 years old, and then now you're 40? Can you still, are you forever gone? No, I think that we're all capable of free will, having our own decisions. And so I think that there's different times in our lives, there might be different people that could be compatible with us. So I will say that. And I do agree that if you're looking for your partner, or you want a partner, you should be looking. You can't expect them to show up on your doorstep, but I think God will guide and lead you to someone who will align with you. Now, let me go ahead and go into some verses about being unequally yoked, because people do not like this, but it is biblical, so I don't know what else to tell you. It says, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness, or what fellowship has light with darkness? Now, I do think that this verse is not only specifying marriage, it's just being yoked with, it's just being yoked, being in a sort of partnership, if you will. So that can be in different ways. Does that mean you can't be friends with people who aren't believers? No. But I think being in a sort of like bonding, being yoked, being attached to, in a sense, someone who is not, that is not biblical. And if you look here, for example, on 1 Corinthians 6:16, it says, or do you not know that he who is joined to a prostitute becomes one body with her? For as it is written, the two will become one flesh. Now, this goes with sex in general. So when you're talking about having sex, and this is one reason why the Bible is the way that it is in regard to sex. And I know some people are really against the biblical laws on that. But it's there for a reason. It's there for our own protection. It's not, and I know it's a lot easier said than done to, completely follow the Bible in that regard. And I think that some people have taken things to a toxic level, into where they kind of enforce this whole purity culture. And I'll just be the first to say, I don't care if someone's a virgin. Does not make them pure. No one is pure. The Bible is extremely clear that we're all sinners, and humans are all sinners. So someone who's a virgin is not a pure person. I mean, we are made pure through the blood of Jesus Christ, and that's that. And so it's not about having purity points or this or that when it comes to, not engaging in fornication, all that kind of stuff. But I think ultimately, when you do join with someone, on a sexual level, you are becoming one with them. You're becoming one physically, interchanging bodily fluids. You are literally becoming one person. And also spiritually, emotionally, you got the brain chemicals that are bonding you to that person, whether you like it or not. And that's why I truly believe that there is no such thing as casual sex, because you are still becoming one with that person. And that's why I think that hookup culture and stuff like that is a very unhealthy. Now, whatever adults choose to do with their own lives, that's their business, none of my business. But this is, I'm just saying, I believe this is why the Bible does speak on this, is for our protection, because there are negative effects you're going to have to experience, and consequences for that. Now, when you mentioned a non-Christian being able to see the light of God in the other, all that kind of stuff. Now, there is also in 1st or 2nd Corinthians, I can't remember, a verse, I should have pulled this up, where Paul speaks. Now, he says these were his words and not of God, but Paul does say that if you are already in union, if you are already married with somebody who is not of your faith, so who's not of the faith and who's not a Christian, it says if the person you're married to does not wish to leave, then you should stay together. So Paul does say that, but because in that kind of situation, I guess Paul would see divorce as the worst case scenario, or as a worse situation. But it says if the partner wants to leave and is okay with leaving, then you are free to divorce and all that. Now, but no, to knowingly enter into a union with someone as a Christian, to knowingly enter into a union with someone who is not a Christian is not biblical. Again, if you're an adult, you do what you want to do, but it is not biblical, and God does tell us not to do that in the Bible. So that's my opinion. I mean, not even my opinion; it's in the Bible. So, yeah. Anyway, there's my stance. There's that. Satchel says, if we already knew what was around every corner, amen to today's sermon. Thank you so much. And yeah, well, watch yesterday's video for that. I did share more on social media on that as well. Gabriel says, Hayden Christensen is the type of actor we need today. He is old school due to his mentors. I'm telling you, I don't care who hates on him for how he was in the Star Wars prequel films. He was amazing, I think. And I think he truly embodies Vader. He just truly, he is Anakin. And he emotionally really pulled off that role. And I love that he is doing his research and really trying to, and really takes this serious. And when actors are just like, okay, I'm just going to be me and that's the character, I like it when they actually care to portray the character and care to make the fans happy with their portrayal of said characters. Triumph says, John 6:40, and this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone which seeth the Son and believeth on him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. Our Heavenly Father made it so ridiculously easy that people refuse to believe it could be that simple. And it's true. It's to be saved is such an easy thing for us. God really did make it easy, and Jesus really went through everything he did to make it easy for us. All we have to do is accept his sacrifice, because none of us are worthy, and it's a beautiful thing. Next, G says, the entire second half of this video really spoke to me. Not only did I need the reminders of those rather famous verses, because let's be honest, we're human, we forget these things in the moment, but the way in which you talked about them only reinforced for me how much we can really use them in our lives. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. It means a lot, because I'm always doubting myself. I'm like, am I even making a difference? Is this even helping anybody? So it really means a lot to know that it does. Joseph says, thank you for sharing your faith. I went to a Christian school, and by the time I graduated, I had stopped reading my Bible or going to church. It's been a very long time, but you got me to start reading the Bible again, and I'm starting to look for a church. Thank you. That makes me so happy. Good luck on your church search. I know it can be tough to find that perfect one. The perfect one doesn't exist, but it can be tough to find that great fit, but best wishes to you with that. Susanta says She says, it doesn't look funny. It doesn't look cool. It doesn't look good, lol. It doesn't. Thor, Love, and Thunder doesn't. I was trying to find a redeeming quality. Timothy says, I like how you give a very realistic view of what being a Christian is. I can't stand the religious holy of holy mindset and acting like this angelic swan, so to speak. That fake act turns me off. I don't want to be like that. I just want to try my best to be Christian-like and not worry about messing up. Thank you, Timothy. And I agree. It's like the whole Pharisee mindset. I don't like it either. Don't like it. Neil says, in a game about criminal lifestyle, i.e. robbery and murder, not to mention the online version with flying bikes and cars, people are getting offended by cross-dressers in a video game. Yeah, seems legit. Steven says, found you through Drinker. You got another subscriber from me. Anyone who speaks out against this woke nonsense deserves my attention. Thank you. I got an influx of comments the past couple days from people saying, found you from Critical Drinker, found you from Critical Drinker. So I'm not sure if that video where that collab video where I was a guest on his After Hours, I'm not sure if that hit like more suggested videos, but either way, thank you so much. That was super fun. If y'all have not seen that, definitely suggest checking that out. It's on Critical Drinkers After Hours channel. It was a very fun discussion. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go into today's verse of the day, and I picked Isaiah 57, 20 through 21. Now, I picked this for multiple reasons. I mean, first of all, the topic at hand for today's video, it says, but the wicked are like the tossing sea, for it cannot be quiet, and its waters toss up mire and dirt. There is no peace, says my God, for the wicked. Now, there's so many times where it does seem like evil prospers, and there's so many times when you look at people who are selfish and who live life selfishly, who walk on others, who abuse others, who put themselves above everybody else and don't care about other people and will use people to get what they want in life. It's like, it looks like life is so much easier for them, and it looks like, hey, you know, they don't always get, you know, in trouble like someone else. Look at someone like Gina Carano, who did nothing wrong, who got fired from The Mandalorian. And then you have people like this who are, you know, still on big projects, still doing movies, and it looks like they're prospering and doing well. But I can't stress enough that, you know, just from what the Bible says and also what I truly believe is I don't think that evil people, and I don't think that bad people who use others and who abuse others, I don't think they're ever happy, even if things in life seem to be going well. Because, I mean, let's face it, when you're as a Christian, in the way that I believe, I mean, I believe that in God, and I also believe that Satan exists, and Satan has his fallen angels, demons, and all that. And you have God and his angels and all that. And so you do have like a good versus evil type thing. And then when you look at that, Satan and his demons, they want evil in the world, okay? And so the influence that Satan has in society and demons and all that, yeah, they're going to want people who are doing bad, they're going to want them to be content. That's going to be their goal. And so they're going to try and reinforce that. And because they don't want them turning from that. Okay? And so a lot of times as people of faith, we seem to have obstacles thrown in our path all the time. And that's because here's the thing is Satan isn't going to attack or come after people who are not doing God's work and who are not following God and who are not a threat, you know? So if someone is living a life of sin and someone is like, you know, being bad to others, Satan isn't going to come after them. Satan isn't going to try to make their life more difficult. He's going to actually want their life to be as better because he wants to keep them there. And so it does seem like those who, you know, follow the path, the straight and narrow and all that, do get more obstacles and things thrown in their way. Like, look at Gina Carano getting fired and all that, for example. But at the end of the day, God does take care of his children. And, you know, Gina may not be on The Mandalorian anymore, but God is blessing her in other ways. And I think those of us who are believers, we know that life isn't always going to be easy. We know that sticking with our faith, growing our faith, and staying on the path is going to come with challenges from the world and from Satan. It's going to come with difficulties that we didn't have to go through if we weren't on this path. But there's a peace. There's a peace that surpasses all understanding that also goes with that. Not to mention, like, when you look at our eternal salvation and all that kind of stuff. But just when I think about everything, and I think of the times that I rebelled against my faith for a couple years or so there, dude, I didn't have that peace that I have now. Now, did I have as much problems from my peers or from the world in general? Was I getting all of these things thrown on my path as much? Not really. I remember back then, like, I didn't have all the backlash. I didn't have as many haters. I didn't have people in the industry trying to get me fired from sponsors and things like that. They didn't care. I had nothing but support, pretty much. I didn't have to deal with that crap. But when I got back in my faith, and even before when I was in my faith, before I, like, went through my rebellious phase, yeah, then it was more difficult among my peers. Then it was more difficult among all that. But even so, even with all that thrown at me, even with the haters, I have a peace in my faith that I did not have. I was so much more miserable during my rebellious phase, even with less problems thrown in my life. And so, if you're feeling discouraged on your path and where you're at right now, and you're like, well, look at these people around me who are seemingly succeeding, and they're using people, they're living for themselves, they're not trying to, they're not living for God, and I am, and why do I have all these obstacles? Well, just try to remember that. Just try to think and seek the peace that you have in Jesus, because they don't have that. And there may be a certain level of peace that you have that you don't even realize, because you haven't been on the other side, perhaps. And that's the thing, is people, and you even look at, like, little kids, for example. You ever see, like, the most giant bratty little kid that is just a brat, that is spoiled rotten, gets everything they want, and they are a giant brat, and they treat people like crap? Those kids are always miserable, dude. You look at, like, those stupid spoiled kids who are just get anything they ever want. They throw tantrums. They all they got to do is scream and all that. They're miserable. And the same applies to, evil people. They're miserable. They may look like they're succeeding. It may look like they're not getting that much backlash or opposition, but I'm telling you, they're miserable people. You cannot be a happy person and use other people, period. So if people are using others and it's looking like they're succeeding, I don't care if they're multi-millionaires or billionaires or whatever it may be. Dude, they're not happy. They're not. So that's just something to consider and remember. Now, I did want to say, I was just thinking about how I mentioned my verse of the day and all that stuff in my videos, that I just thought to myself, what about people who want to know more, who may be inspired and want to know more about this, who may not be of the faith already? On my Discord server, which I have a link in the description, which you can check out, one of, or a few people on my Discord server who made or came together and wanted to do, like, a prayer group thing. So we made a prayer request text channel, and I believe there's also a prayer voice channel as well. I know some have joined together and have prayed, and thank you to those who prayed for me too, because I know some of y'all have, and it means a lot, because I need it. I always need it. But yeah, if anybody, if you're already a Christian and you just want to be a part of that, you can join my Discord server. If you're not a Christian, you want to know more about that, you can also check in. I have some prayer leaders that I'm appointing who can pray with anybody who needs someone to pray with them, and all that kind of stuff. So just go ahead and join in. Also, just even if you're not, my Discord server is not just about faith, but there is that sector of it. So there's all kinds of other stuff if you want to suggest video topics, if you just want to talk about current trending things, video games, whatever it may be. My Discord server is a fun place, so check that out in the description. I have it in my link tree. But anyway, today's a long video. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you had a wonderful day. I will see you all tomorrow. And in the meantime, go boom.